King motherfucking Gizzard and the goddamn lizard-ass wizard are a 6-piece multi-genre band hailing from Melbourne, Australia. And they are Stu McKenzie,
Woo, yeah.
Ambrose Kenny Smith,
G'day.
Joey Walker,
Hello.
Cook Craig,
Hello.
Lucas Harwood,
Hey.
and Michael Kavanagh.
Hello.
Previously, Eric Moore was also in the band as a second drummer.
Hello.
He left the band in 2020 after allegations of lost kick drum privileges and moved into a role of solely managing the band's record label, Flightless. Rumour has it to this day he still cooks a mean
Brown rice stir fry.
There's so much to this band that finding them is like uncovering a hidden treasure. An extremely prolific hidden treasure. I only discovered them last year, and the very next month they expanded their already vast discography with an additional 3 albums, bringing the total to 23 studio albums and 3 EPs, and all in only 10 years. This is something which could put potential listeners off. A discography of that size can seem intimidating, but each and every album they put out is different and of the highest quality. Now, I mentioned these guys were multi-genre, and I mean it. They have dabbled in garage punk, garage rock, acid rock, ragga rock, folk rock, psychedelic pop, psychedelic folk, progressive rock, jazz fusion, jazz funk, heavy metal, thrash metal, progressive metal, psychedelic funk, neo-psychedelica, psychedelic rock, krautrock, boogie rock, dream pop, synth pop, hip hop, experimental rock, soft rock, blues rock, stoner rock, electronic, R&B, and psychedelic rock. This is something which when I first heard I assumed they'd nail one genre way better than others, but I really don't think that's true. Every offering from the Gizz is another gift of comparable quality to the others. King G are one of those bands who often produce an album based on an idea or a concept, which I personally find really enriches the art. Some examples of this are, their second album, Eyes Like the Sky, is essentially a cult western audiobook written and narrated by Ambi's dad, Broderick Smith. Don't they look so alike? Quarters is made up of 4 songs of exactly equal length, so the album is literally split into quarters. This is one of the more obscure pieces of trivia you'll hear in this video, but Nonagon Infinity consists of 9 songs which all segue into each other, with the last song leading into the first, meaning the album can be played in an infinite loop. Only true fans know that. Flying Microtonal Banana is the band's first fully fledged expedition into microtonality, and the songs are left deliberately repetitive to try and make them get stuck in your head. For example, the album opens with the song About Her, and in the song, Stu McKenzie repeats the word 54 times. That's a lot of Murder of the Universe is a concept album featuring 3 full storylines about the Lord of Lightning fighting a Balrog, a deranged cyborg named Han Taiyumi murdering the universe, more on him later, and the third story about Polygondwanaland was released under an open source license, meaning the music is completely royalty free, and the initial recordings for Ice, Death, Planets, Lungs, Mushrooms and Lava were recorded by the band over 7 days. Each day they would enter the studio with nothing but a song name and jam for hours, and at the end of each day, Stu McKenzie would take those jams and assemble them into a song. The songs are also built around the 7 Greek modes, which is where the album gets its 7-word title. When I find music that I love, and then I realise there's another layer to it outside of the audio experience, there's just something about that which exponentially increases how passionately I can feel about that music. You have heard, of course, of the idea of a concept album, but have you ever considered the possibility of a concept discography? Sounds unlikely, right? But Stu McKenzie has been quoted as saying,
They all kind of exist in this parallel universe that they may be from different times and from different places, but they all can coexist in a meaningful kind of way.
Further to that, ex-drummer Eric Moore once joked,
Before we started a band, we knew what the last album was going to be and what the first album was going to be. They're all connected.
That universe has been affectionately dubbed the Gizzverse by fans, and there are theories upon theories of which songs make up part of the Gizzverse and what its overall story is. Now these are all just speculation and no one has the right answer, but my personal interpretation is as follows. I'll try and make this quick. On a parallel Earth which is in danger and ruled by a tyrant called the Lord of Lightning, a group of adventurers are searching for a mythical nirvana called Polygondwana Land. One of these is a man named Hantayumi who, after having his eyes gouged out by the Lord of Lightning in a previous failed rebellion, is searching for tetrachromacy, the ability to see 4 primary colours, when he comes across a glassy-eyed story man who informs him that he can achieve tetrachromacy via cybernetic enhancement. Hantayumi undergoes this process and becomes in his mind a god. Meanwhile, a group of 7 pilgrims attempt to open the door, presumably to hell, in their search for immortality by plunging their gamma knives into the ground. Presumably they're successful and open the door with Nonagon Infinity, which dooms Earth. The rich desert Earth for Mars and leave the poor to be harvested for organs. The poor attempt 2 trips to colonise Venus, Venusian 1, which fails and is burnt up in a solar flare, and Venusian 2, which is successful, but the colonists of Venus go insane and self-immolate, which summons Satan, who sends them to Mars to infest the rat's nest. Meanwhile, Hantayumi upgrades himself further and further until he's completely uploaded to the robot brain, and while fishing for fishies, grows to hate humanity. It's then that he meets Boogeyman Sam, a murderous lunatic who loves to dance, and Hantayumi tricks him into being upgraded into a cyborg. Hantayumi grows to long for his humanity back, and in particular 2 human things, to die and to vomit. Unable to do this, he creates a soy protein munt machine which can vomit and integrates with it. The 2 become one and Hantayumi begins vomiting unstoppably, covering everything in vomit and consuming and destroying all that it comes into contact with, destroying lakes and buildings and crumbling castles. As it becomes a threat to the universe, some unknown entity, possibly the Lord of Lightning, attempts to bomb Hantayumi but is unsuccessful. Hantayumi grows and expands until he covers and fills everything, eventually finally committing the murder of the universe. Hantayumi goes on to regret his actions and creates a simulation and once again fills it with humanity and asks them if they remember, revealing that this, all along, was his altered plan. Now, that is a fairly basic and surface level introduction of the Gizzverse, or at least my interpretation of it. I am no Gizzverse historian, so I'm sure there are errors in there or points which someone who has spent more time and thought on this than me will be able to enlighten us on in the comments. If you're interested and want a deeper dive into the Gizzverse, I recommend Motion in Art's Gizzverse Explained series. Alternatively, I'll post a link to some of the resources I reviewed in the video's description. But this is just an idea of how deep the King Gizzard iceberg goes and how dedicated its fans are. So, to conclude, KGLW are a fucking amazing band. They give off the vibe of just a cool group of guys who are great friends. Their music is incredible, the accompanying videos are full of rich lore and of the highest quality. They are oozing artistic genius, and Stu's writing process is something to be admired.
It's just, you're just getting in there and you're thinking about something, and then, you're kind of thinking about it as a song, and then there's this music. And,
If you asked me what my favourite album was, I'd tell you, yes. If you pushed me for an answer, I'd say, absolutely. But if you actually forced me, made me, put a gun to my head, I'd open my mouth to answer, I'd hesitate for half a second to think, and before I could decide, they'd release another 3 albums. If you haven't listened to King Gizzard, what are you waiting for? They have such a vast, extensive, elaborate and beautiful discography. Seriously, what are you waiting for? Why are you just here watching a video about them when you could be listening to them? This video is 10 minutes and 16 seconds long. That's exactly the same length as Ice 5. Go and listen to that. Go. Now. Go and listen to them. I just want to throw out some honourable mentions for cool pieces of trivia before I finish the video. Quick shout out to Jason Galea, who's basically the unofficial 5th Beatle of KGLW, producing the vast majority of the artwork which accompanies their music. Also, the song 12 Bar Bruise was recorded through 4 iPhones placed around a room while Stu Mackenzie sang into one of them. The music video for Cellophane was filmed and released in 3D, but when it was subsequently released in 2D, they removed the red and blue colouring from Stu's 3D glasses. Nice touch. Stu Mackenzie has been quoted as saying that Vegemite is the most literal song he's ever written. Man just really likes Vegemite. In 2022, King Gizzard won the first Environmental Music Prize for their song If Not Now Then When, and donated all of the prize money to the Wilderness Society. The song Cutthroat Boogie is Ambrose describing how he almost had his throat slit at a party. And finally, their live shows on KEXP. If you haven't seen these, check them out. They're amazingly well recorded and performed, and well worth anyone's time. So that's it really. I could talk and talk about these guys until I'm blue in the face, but instead, I'm going to go and listen to them. I'll see you all on Planet B.
There is no Planet B!
Oh, right, yeah, sorry, I forgot. Then I'll see you all in the crumbling castle. Play us out, fellas.
Oh yeah. Rattlesnake, cobra snake, fuck! Rattlesnake! Oh shit it.
Did you know that if you take all 4 tracks from Quarters and overlap them and play them at the same time, it sounds like shit?